And
Looks like a quorum. Anthony, thank you for joining. Well, let me see that shirt. Is that the shirt or the thing behind you?
What was that?
Is it the shirt or the, oh, it's a blanket behind you that's got that pattern.
Oh, yeah, it's just like this is my grandpa's old lazy boy chair.
Cool.
And literally the fabric is falling apart. So this is just something that's a cool covering for now.
True authenticity.
So folks, I'm going to call it to order where we've got a quorum, and we'll let other folks chime in as we roll around. So I'll call it to order at 2:04. I'm assuming we have no public with us, do we, ladies? All righty, so we're going to switch right past that and go into the consent agenda. We've got the minutes from November 9th and the monthly financial update.
So Keith, can we read the state of emergency for electronic meetings?
Well, guess what? You just got tagged with.
It was in our package. We've all read it.
So, Lucinda, if that's what you would like to do, please take a moment and read it.
Thank you. This meeting of the Central Virginia Regional Housing Partnership Executive Committee is being held pursuant to item 4.0-01 of the approved state budget HB 29 that allows public bodies to hold electronic meetings in the current COVID-19 emergency. In that it is impracticable or unsafe to assemble in a single location, and that the purpose of the meeting is to discuss or transact the business statutorily required or necessary to continue operation of the public body. This meeting is being held via electronic video and audio means through Zoom online meetings and is accessible to the public with closed captions, and there will be an opportunity for public comment. Notice has been provided to the public through website postings and emails to interested parties. The meeting minutes will reflect the nature of the emergency. The meeting was held by electronic communication means and the type of electronic communication means by which the meeting was held. A recording of the meeting will be posted at tjpdc.org within 10 days of the meeting. Thanks.
Well done, Lucinda. Guess what your new role is? So thank you for doing that. All righty. So we've got past that part of our agenda, November 9th meetings, and there is a monthly financial update. We're going to talk a little bit more about budgets later on in the agenda, but if anybody has any comments to that would be a great time to do it. Otherwise, I'd look for a first and a second, please.
Move to accept both.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. I assume there was no discussion. That's the reason why I buzzed right past that. Just trying to get us back on schedule, guys, a little bit here, which I think we've achieved. So should I tackle the staffing update, Chip, or would you like to tackle it, or how would you prefer to address that item?
I will be glad to. I think that we have updated the partnership on the first transition, where Susan Steinmart is now, while she's still one of the PDC employees and working full-time with us still, we have contracted her services full-time to the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust, and that began January 1st. They're still housed here in our offices, and we aren't completely sure how long that might be. It may be a short period. It may be for a long period, but we're happy to continue that relationship with the Community Land Trust. The second big thing, which I'm sure everybody on this call is aware of, I won't say that this will be my last regional housing partnership meeting, because I'm sure I'll be sticking my head in on occasion, but on February 15th, I will move over and become the new city manager with the city of Charlottesville. I know housing is a very big priority for the city, as you all know, and so we will certainly keep our interest, and I'll keep my finger in this. But that occurs February 15th, and temporarily and soon to, I'm sure, to become official on February the 4th, Christine Jacobs will be appointed the interim executive director for the Thomas Jefferson Planning District. So Christine will continue the work that she's actually the one that began a couple years ago with the Housing Partnership. Be glad to answer any questions.
Well,
can I add something, Keith?
sure, of course.
Since Susan has moved on, Lucinda will be taking the lead on coordinating the regional housing partnership activities, and then also with Nick's support. You guys know Nick because he's doing such good work on the housing plan, which we'll update you on, but he'll also be supporting the initiatives of the RHP.
Thank you, Christine. I was just going to chime in on that. And the real answer is it takes two people to manage Keith Smith. That's really what the whole purpose is on that, right? Go, she's not saying nothing.
So, well, there's 4 staff on right now.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm sorry, 2? I have to disagree.
Well, I'm not counting you because you were like gone. And you're right, Christine is double you, so in her capability, so it is. All righty, so I'm looking at the agenda. I might take a little bit of Chairman's prerogative here. Christine, we don't have anything on the agenda to talk about the wrap up of the RMRP, do we? Is that on the agenda? I don't see it, right?
It is not, but I had the flyer pulled up just in case, and it has been sent to everybody on this.
I would like to just, if you don't mind, just go through that flyer real quickly, and there's a purpose for this, particularly when we get to the budget conversation. You know, it's some of the awesomeness that this organization is doing. And if you should bump into any of the public, this is a really great cheat sheet to share some information. So if you wouldn't mind giving me a couple of minutes on that, I appreciate it.
Can you guys see the screen? Great. And you can hear me fine. Good. All right. So high level, as you guys know, we partnered with the 3 nonprofits to do the direct intake, and also with the support of Anthony through HMIS support. It was the United Way, the Nelson County Community Development Foundation, and the Monticello Area Community Action Agency. And in just under 5 months, we were able to distribute direct relief of $1.624 million directly to landlords and mortgage companies. Total budget of the program ended up being just over $1.8 million to include the admin expenses. That served 570 unique households in the region and helped to stabilize housing for them. That was 769 individual payments, because we obviously had people come back month to month as they continued to need support if their economic situation didn't change. The average relief per household was just over $2,000, and obviously that fluctuated wildly from anywhere from $75 to just over $10,000 in support that was asked for. We split it out just by area median income to show the impact that the majority of the money went towards households that were in the most need of that financial support. And then the last page shows the breakdown by jurisdiction and how that funding ended up going out. Initially, we were using a per capita formula to ensure that we were making sure that the rural counties had equitable access to those funds. And as the program progressed, we moved more towards an as needed, so that we can use as much of the funding as quickly as we could, because we knew that there was a terminal date for being able to expend those funds. I'm happy to take any questions. The state is now managing this, as you all know, and so applications can still be received for both renters and homeowners and landlords applying on behalf of tenants. But if you have any other questions or want any other broken down data, I'm happy to answer or provide that.
Once again, offer kudos to you and your team and the commission and everybody on the RHP. I don't think this would have happened if we were not having some, first-rate folks in it. And I'm assuming, Nick, this is your handiwork to hand out?
No, that's Lucinda.
Lucinda, I apologize, Lucinda. Very, very excellent infographic put together. Well done.
Yeah, I think it's really nicely put together. A great summary of the program.
That was Christine.
All right. Christine, great job.
Hey, Chip, why don't you take
It was
kudos
a
for
group
this?
effort.
I'm just going to say TJPDC, great job.
There you
How
go.
about that?
Goes-
For the record, this is the first time I've seen it. No.
Well, I was interesting, Ned. You guys won with $809,000, and then Louisa, actually, City of Charlottesville came in second at 282.
So the recently approved COVID relief includes more funding for this, question mark, and it'll go through the state this time, question mark.
Yes, they're both money in the Housing Trust Fund and state money, but in the last webinar that I was on, they didn't go into specific detail of what that funding stack is. So I'm not sure what all of their sources are right now. I think one of the downsides is with it being run by the state and not being run locally, we have a lot less access to information and data and how it's being spent and by whom. So we don't have as much information as I would like to on this second phase of the program.
But we can track it, though. We do have access to that information, correct? No.
No.
No, we do not.
I had a quick question, just as and not to get into the weeds on this, but the numbers were only representative of the RMRP money, correct? So that I know a big part was there was a large amount of Pathways money that was also distributed for COVID relief funding in the city in particular and in the county, but that's not included in those numbers, correct?
Correct. This is only RMRP money directly from DHCD.
Great, thanks.
All righty, so thank you. If any other questions for Christine, we'll move on to the next item, which is the strategic plan review. So guys and gals, one of the reasons why we asked to put this, or I asked to have this put in and for us to start taking a look at it, I think we need to start taking a look at where our strategic plan is, where we, I guess somebody's going to put up some slides. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you. So take a look at, some of the achievements that we achieved. Do we need to retweak it a little bit for 2021, 2022? Is everybody happy with it? So I don't think we really need to spend too much time on it today, other than I think, if everybody would please take the opportunity and the time to read through this, and if anything jumps off the page that thinks that we've kind of pivoted away from, that we need to go back to, or things that are missing that we really should be putting in on that. So I don't think we have to have any formal teams put together or work groups. If you just could individually review it, get staff some comments back or not, and we'll just kind of move that ball forward a little bit. Is that online what you were thinking, Christine and Lucinda? I'm not even talking to Chip anymore. Is that kind of on the on track? Yeah.
For time purposes, do we have a minute or two just to talk about the ones?
We do.
Okay.
We do.
I'm gonna, Lucinda, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Sorry, we didn't prepare that ahead of time, but I have it up and ready. But I changed kind of the format of the plan just to put it into like progress so that we could see where we were and what we still hoped to accomplish. Let's see if it shared my screen. Are you guys seeing the plan?
No.
Nope.
Oh, try that again. My apologies.
We did see it before you said you were going to put it up.
Yeah, that was a different version.
Okay. There we go. We got
now it's showing?
Yep.
Great. Sorry about that. So what I did is I just broke out the actions that we said that we were going to accomplish for the high level strategies and went through and kind of read to see where we were on each of them. So when we talk about the education and outreach, that was developing a plan to listen to the residents to develop the housing plan. We did that by holding the stakeholder meetings in each of the counties. So that is complete. The annual spring summit, as everyone knows, the in-person one is on hold, but we're continuing to do virtual series. So I just put ongoing. The regional website is complete. However, I put ongoing because we're going to continue to refine it over time and I want it to stay top of mind. We're going to talk about both of those a little later. Here we go. Creating the housing plan, Nick and Anthony will speak to a little bit later. We're making great progress on that. We hope to be complete with it early spring. So that's in really good shape and starting to really look really good. Review zoning codes. That was a part of the work that we did to prepare for the housing plan. So we have reviewed all of the zoning codes and there's information on that in each chapter of the plan. And then working with staff to identify zoning and regulatory barriers, that's going to continue to be ongoing as we develop this plan and look at what are some strategies that we're recommending to overcome some of those barriers. If I go down to our third strategy, 3 and 4 is where our recommendation, if there are not major tweaks, and there may be because of COVID, but our recommendation would be that staff time spent in FY22 is on 3 and 4. And that's developing the metrics to evaluate progress over time. Is the plan being implemented? Is it successful? How can we continue to move forward on those initiatives? And then the fourth, and that includes creating a dashboard to report on that progress over time. And then the fourth one is the regional policy platform for legislators. And we had said that we wanted to kind of look at regional housing priorities. We wanted to, I think there was another one down a little lower, I think to scroll, create a legislative roundtable where we're talking specifically about housing issues. So those are some things that we can look at going into FY22 that can be priorities for the partnership once the plan is complete and the website is up and running and in good shape.
Christine, that matches what's been in my package. You mentioned something about something different, or what you just went through, I have.
Correct.
Okay, got it. All right. I misunderstood you.
No, I just said we have a couple minutes to go through so that when they're reading it individually.
Got it. Understood.
Yep.
So guys and gals, we've got, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. We've got about another 10 minutes left on this particular subject. Anybody wish to comment a little bit on that or make some suggestions, or best to read and bring it back up at the next meeting?
Well, one quick one. The state legislature's back in session, and we really didn't get a formal way to interface with them this year. It's an election year. Seems to me it'd be good in advance of the election to try as an organization to brief candidates, and failing that, to certainly try to hit next session with some more formal interface with our representatives.
It'll be a little bit more challenging this year because this is a redistricting year also. And I can speak at least to my county. There's debate on if we might end up with 2 extra board of supervisors. And so that's a little bit tricky at this particular point on that end of it. I don't know what Ned is seeing in his county, but out in Flavanna, there's debate on adding 2 more districts, from jumping from 5 to 7, which I think is too much, but that's my personal opinion.
Lord knows everybody needs some more supervisors.
Yeah, that's right. It'll take load work off of you, Ned.
Is the redistricting realistically going to happen before this fall?
Well, I can just tell you from the conversations I've had with other elected officials and some county administrators and not the city, and Chip may be able to share a little bit on this for us. I know in my county, they're trying to figure out how to get this done before June, because I believe there's a deadline. They have to do it by June, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Chip, or am I off base?
I'm not familiar with that because yeah, I'll have to check, because I'm not sure even the numbers are in from the census.
Or not?
Yeah.
Well, I may be off base then, but
yeah,
the chatter that I'm involved with is the whole question of having to get the redistricting done, meeting the deadline for filing, right?
But what you're talking about, Keith, I think the census stuff was supposed to be in, I don't know if already or by March, or there was some point of this first quarter that if it didn't, the census data didn't came in, it put that May, June timeframe in jeopardy, and they may have to push it back and or come up with some other plan, which I'm sure will get folks all around it.
So the only reason I brought it up is there's a potential that we may be dealing with, at least at the local level, more elected officials or less, depending on which way it shakes out. Just a little heads up. And any other feedback on strategic?
I was trying to remember what was our process for that? I remember it going to executive committee. Were we going to put like a committee together, a smaller committee from the executive committee? I don't remember the game plan, or maybe there was not one.
Yeah, the decision was made that the executive committee would serve as that legislative committee, and that we would not create a new one.
All right, okay.
So I guess we'll have to put that on our agenda to try to move that item a little forward. And I think that's kind of what I'm asking everybody to take a look at the strategic plan and kind of see if we can establish a work plan for, my brain doesn't operate in fiscal years, guys, so I apologize. But, you know, for the next 12 months anyway, you know, what we're doing for this calendar year, what's our big ticket items that we want to accomplish. We accomplished such awesomeness in the middle of COVID in 2020. I think it's going to be really hard for us to match that or beat it. But that's kind of what I'm asking, is take a look at it and see maybe at the next meeting what, you know, be a little bit more deeper dive into it.
One, if I could, Mr. Chair, I would kind of recommend.
I think he's talking to you, Ned.
The very first thing you would want, the action you would want to take is, as soon as this General Assembly is over and the governor has signed the bills, you would want to do a review of all of the housing legislation that either passed or didn't pass. Use that as a springboard to begin looking at issues for the next General Assembly year of what you may want to tackle. I mean, you know, with a group like this, you'll probably only want to look at 2, maybe 3 different issues. And the best time to do that is immediately after the signing of the bills for the current year.
Okay, thank you.
Chip, is it, I know that, and I'm sure others through different ways that we're all involved in so many things, get David's legislative updates and summaries. Does this executive committee receive those? Could they, if they don't?
Oh, they most certainly could. Yeah.
We could get that looped in. That's an excellent summary that David puts out, and then this committee really can at least be tracking it, and that way any work we do can be a little bit more informed.
Yes, and he could certainly come in and from his summary highlight some of the housing ones at one of the meetings.
You beat me to that, Chip, because I was just going to ask that question. All right. Anything else on strategic plans, folks?
If you want feedback, perhaps we should send out the strategic plan to the full board and ask for feedback.
I'd rather tackle the executive committee first, see what we level up to. Greg, if you don't mind.
That's fine. I would just like for them to have reviewed it before the quarterly full session.
I agree. Lucinda's our next quarterly meeting with the full board?
March.
The partnership meeting is in March.
Okay. So I think we could.
One more executive session.
Yeah, I think at the executive, I think if everybody could prepare to kind of talk a little bit more in detail, we'll add that on the agenda for a little bit more detailed conversation. And then after we finish our review, then we'll send it out to everybody for the conversation at the larger meeting. Does that work for you, Greg?
Yep.
Thank you.
Great.
Anybody else before we move on? All righty. Porchlight website. Looks like it's Chip and I, but Chip, I'm going to let you tackle that if you don't mind.
Okay. Can I share something or?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
You're not leaving? Is that what you're going to share? You're going to stay? Is that what it is?
Yeah. No. Let's see if I can.
Hey, Stacy.
All right. Tell me what you see, because I've got 2 screens up.
And I apologize. I just realized I jumped over an item. We'll have to go back to the budget stuff.
Okay.
My mistake.
The website's up?
No. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to let you all know, I mean, we've got this as a pop-up on the PDC's website. It's one of the easiest ways, I think, to tell people how to begin to look for this. We work with a local firm that, in my opinion, did an excellent job in helping us to brand this and initially market it out. I mean, we've gotten this in front of over 50,000 people through social media and other forms of advertising. They helped us come up and coin this Porch Light, Virginia. And just by clicking on that, of course, then it takes us to what I think is a very attractive, much more attractive and inviting page than the consulting team that hosts this for us. Theirs is pretty standard around the country. I think this really stands out. We have everything on it that we had talked about before with the rent as well as resources. I'll walk through a couple of those in just a second. But the one thing that we haven't come to an agreement on is how best to list for sale housing. I think it's very important that we get there at some point, but until we can come up with a surefire policy and program, we've just got it as the coming soon. And, you know, I'm sure that's something that you all will be working on a lot in the next few months so that we can get that working. We've gone through this before. From this point forward, it's not very different. That if you have someone who's wanting to look for housing, they just go to the for rent and put in their search criteria. One of the things that is, and you may have people ask you, so I point this out. If you look at the areas of our region, and for instance, you don't see Fluvanna County on this, that's because there are no units listed in Fluvanna County. The minute we can get some listed in the community, if it were Lake Monticello, it would come up as Lake Monticello and Fluvanna. But unless there's something listed, the area doesn't pop up. We have been pushing, and I ask all of the partnership members to, you know, if you're talking to your counterparts in Fluvanna, we need landlords to come in and list properties, even though we know there are very few at this time. But that's one of the big pushes that we have. We've got all of our local governments listed here, as well as all the disclaimers. And this is managed by the consulting team, Emphasis. They have the 1-800 call center that people can call if they do have difficulties with the website. Let's see if I can get this to, yep, there we go. The other page is our resource page where it's broken down by jurisdiction, and it provides, you know, information that you can either go by link or telephone call with a description of the agencies and what services they provide. Again, this is something I would imagine over time, and as we get feedback from the public, we'll add more and more resource information to this. So that's just it in a nutshell. Would love to hear what you all think. And of course, up at the top, you can get this website changed to any one of, I don't even know how many languages. But we're really happy with the way this turned out. Happy we were able to use a local firm to help us do this, and think it's really moved the mark. I think the next conversation that you all will probably be having in the fairly near future is how this could be incorporated into a true housing hub, where there could be a physical presence with personnel that could help people to have a one-stop shop when they're looking for affordable housing. That's it.
Thanks, Chip. Any thoughts or comments from anybody on this topic? Greg? Nope. So the team is working diligently on the for sale side. The reality on that is we've got to be super careful not to cross fair housing laws. So we're trying to take this nice and slow and make sure we get this right right out of the box. So, but thanks to the team, they're doing some awesome work. Any comments on that before I go back up to the budget I missed?
Quick question. Who at the planning district has been in discussions on the hub, the physical hub idea? I need to get some background.
Sure, I'll be glad to tell you, because I've been in conversations with Habitat and PHA.
That's what I was. That's all I need to hear.
Okay.
Because I did their space plan and we carved out a spot that might become the hub, and I wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Well, I will say in our conversations, and they shared that they were kind of planning a little bit ahead. But one of the concerns is I think you may have said you carved out a little space. I think that's the concern, is that little space may be very temporary.
Well, that would be a nice problem if that's
exactly. Exactly.
It had 3 offices and a conference room. So if that's not enough, we're in good shape.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Chip. So a quick overview on the FY21 budgets and the FY22 budgets. And I'm just going to go over it pretty quickly. So Christine and Chip, if I miss something or go over something that I missed, please stop me. Quick overall, the 2021 budget, what we did is as a team, they got together and figured out that we have enough capital to wrap up for the rest of this year to get us to June of this, of 2021. The short version of the answer is yes. And then we started tackling a little bit of what 22 is going to look like. And I think the last time we had a conversation about this, the commission itself was not in a position or was not contemplating at the time of contributing into the 2022. And I'm happy to report that it looks like the commission for 2022 will be contributing $25,000 of the 22 budget. That leaves us round numbers. We haven't quite wrapped it up yet, but I'm using for my brain, it's a $75,000 budget. I think it's actually a little less than that. So we've got to come up with $50,000 for FY22. Ned and I have been meeting back and forth on some stuff, trying to figure out a fair and equitable way to share that amount, that additional cost through its membership. We haven't quite got there yet, so we'll report a little bit more in for the next executive committee meeting, and then definitely present it to the quarterly meeting. Part of the discussions that we've had, we meaning Christine, Chip, and myself, and I believe Lucinda was in that meeting, if I remember correctly. I'm going to kind of reach out to some larger organizations within our group, within our RHP, and see if they can step up to the plate and make some substantial donation or substantial contribution, excuse me, to that 50,000. If those conversations go well, then we'll have to have, okay, what are we going to do with the remaining balance? So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We're not quite there yet, but we're moving in the right direction, and we want to create a system by which in 23, 24, 25, it's just a setup system where everybody understands what their contribution is expected to be as part of this body. Did I miss anything, guys? Was that pretty much high level? Christine, I'm getting a yes from Christine. Ned, Greg, Anthony, any comments or questions on what I just babbled? We're good?
Good.
All right. So hopefully that got us a little bit back on track. And I apologize for missing that, fortunately. So I think it's the progress of the regional housing plan, and that's Anthony, Christine, but I think Christine's going to kick it off and maybe ask Nick and a couple others to chime in. That's okay with you, Anthony?
That is totally fine.
Thank you.
Anthony, do you have something you want to add? I didn't mean to take it from you. I know how hard Nick has worked on this, and I wanted to give him the opportunity to share.
No, that would be great. I know Nick's done a great job taking that over, and previous to taking it over full time too, has done a great job. So no, please take it away. You have more of the updates than I would be able to share anyway. So.
Great. I'm just going to leave it to Nick. I mean, he's prepared to do this. I don't want us to be repeating each other. So go for it, Nick.
Yeah, let me see if I can share my screen.
Hey guys, my mother's at the front door. I'll be right back. I love you all, but she takes precedent.
Understandable. Yeah, so thanks, Anthony and Christine. Just wanted to give just kind of a high level overview of where we are with the plan itself. I don't know if people have seen this outside of the Strategies and Analysis Committee or not, but just kind of scrolling through high level, and please feel free to stop me at any point if you need to. Looking at Greene County, we're pretty much there. We've got a couple of little like placeholder things where you see blanks that need to be filled in, but each chapter tends to follow this very kind of basic format in terms of an introduction to just kind of the high level overview of the county itself, talking about situation and opportunity. So this was just a way for us to kind of divide, you know, kind of the target of the affordable housing strategy for each county, to just kind of explain what the current state of affordable housing and the need is, and then what the opportunity that hopefully this plan can address, just separated that kind of high level way. We do a really, again, high level overview of the community engagement that took place. I know Christine did a lot of these stakeholder group meetings. There's a public survey that was done. So again, just trying to kind of highlight what heard from the community. We did incorporate kind of these updated sort of high-level infographic kind of demographic you know, section, to where just highlighting certain things within each county. This blank page before you will include narrative to just try and better like contextualize this information. So we are in the process of writing that. We then go into kind of this existing conditions section where we look at housing and transportation costs. So, you know, looking at people that commute in and out of each county, and then what that means for, you know, certain costs associated with that. Again, looking at land use. I know, Christine, you touched on this earlier in the meeting, but just, again, trying to provide some kind of context to what the existing zoning in each county looks like, and what that means, and what its impacts are on for housing and housing moving forward. Kind of this looks at, you know, just, you know, a visual spatial representation of where current multifamily zoning is allowed based on current conditions. And then kind of the meat of, I think, each chapter is looking more at this gap chart. So again, you'll see some placeholder numbers in here that we need to fill in. But, you know, what, based on a lot of data that came out of that phase 1 consultants report that was identified for these kind of missing, you know, components along that spectrum of housing. And then each section for each locality then tries to go through and attach recommendations to those kind of spectrum of need. So where we are kind of in the process with Greene, we've got a couple, you know, strategies or recommendations that we need to finalize. So that's why you see a couple of missing things here in these charts. I'm going to scroll down to Nelson County, because that's the one that is the most complete at this point. And again, you can see it follows that format of previous chapters. But, you know, again, looking at this gap chart and then these recommendations. So trying to kind of provide some sort of, you know, really digestible visual way of looking at all of these different strategies that could address, you know, components along that spectrum of housing need. So I think we're in a pretty good place right now. Are taking these strategies or these recommendations, I think I used that term, I apologize, but we have had staff create a survey that we're sending to the Strategies and Analysis Committee to look at each one of these strategies and see if they can prioritize them based on their expertise. Just because at a staff level, we had kind of played with a couple of different schemas to try and do that internally, and it just doesn't seem like, you know, we were kind of at a point where we felt comfortable, you know, progressing with that. So the thought is to have the committee review those and then provide their feedback and their prioritizations. That way we've got a prioritized list of strategies for each of these components. So that survey was sent out, I think last Friday. So we're going to wait for responses to that, and then we will continue sending those out for each of the localities. We met with Stacy also last week to talk about how to best incorporate her work and the plan that Albemarle County is doing into this kind of format. So we've got a plan and strategy to do that. And we are still operating under the time frame of being able to deliver draft chapters of Nelson, Greene, Louisa, Fluvanna, and Albemarle County. I think early March, mid-March is what we're shooting for. I'm optimistic that that's going to happen. Like I said, you know, there's a lot of little placeholder things that need to be kind of, you know, incorporated, but I think we're really at a good point to knock that out. So with that, if I missed anything, Christine or anyone else, Anthony, Stacy, please feel free to fill in the gaps that I may have missed, but that's where we are.
The only thing that I would add is really just gratitude for that committee. They have been incredibly engaged and helpful in helping to create not only the template for the plan, but the individual strategies, the data, the defending of what we're doing and making sure it's something that when we put it out to the public, it's been well vetted by practitioners. So I'm just really grateful to that committee. That I think one of the reasons we're going to have a good product is because of the good work of many people going behind to make it happen. So it's my thanks.
Agreed. I think, you know, engagement from that committee was shaky at first, but then I think once we had, you know, really clear ways for and opportunities when this thing was getting more, you know, more crystallized. And frankly, when we just said, hey, we need your help with this, we want to make this as strong, they showed up. So I really feel grateful for that too. And I think it was a great partnership with great staff support and also great input. So it just shows what that can provide. I know we've talked about this before, and I guess one of the questions that I have is in terms of the regional, kind of the regional summary, I guess, the regional chapter, is there ability to bring in the city's ideas at this point? I mean, I know they're on a different timeline and they're not a part of this project in particular, but are there still opportunities to at least do that? And yeah.
I know it's going to sound a little flip, but I feel like we know a guy that's going to be over there that can help make that.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Always yeah, good to know a guy.
That's on the agenda, not specifically Charlottesville, but it's on the agenda for the next Strategies and Analysis Committee, because we want to start thinking now about that regional chapter and beginning to build out what it should include, why it should include it, how we take all of these different county chapters, find the overlap and the similarities and what rises to the top to become regional strategies that we would develop those metrics and dashboard from. So I think that needs to be a priority of that strategy, that committee's conversation, but I would love input from this committee also on how to do that, because their process is so different and their plan is frankly so robust.
Great.
Any other thoughts, folks?
It'll be useful if they can hold on to a housing coordinator so that you would have someone to interface with. Need to stabilize the city there, Chip.
Yes, it would. I can say, because I've been sitting on the city's affordable housing committee of the comp plan, I believe you really have to incorporate, even if it's not finalized, it's far enough along that there are some very solid concepts in it. And also, I mean, I will say it is very clear of the acknowledgement that this is a regional, it's going to take a regional effort to adequately address the affordable housing crisis. So that's clearly in the city's plan. I'm sure it's going to stay in there, and I think should then be incorporated into the regional.
That's great.
The other, I just want to, I mean, kudos on the design of this. I've seen so many different plans that it's full of data, but it's so excruciating to pull it out of and follow and read. You don't want to do it on a daily basis. I truly believe this is a document that planners and housing officials around the region can keep on their desk and reference, draw in the margins, and really utilize the data and the recommendations. It's just so readable.
Without a doubt, it is cutting edge and now, right? It's very current in its visual appearance. You know, I was taking some notes down, guys. You know, it just amazes me how much this little organization we've created accomplished. I mean, this is a huge thing, this plan, and kudos off to the strategic committee, policy, excuse me, the plan committee. Because, you know, this is really what we're built to do. And kudos off to you guys. What great work. Great work. And anything else before we move on? We are back on track on the time sense.
Really quick, I fully agree that it is important to get Charlottesville into this document. And it is such a voluminous thing that they've created. Is it possible for you guys to take a stab at drawing out from their plan in your format, something that they could react to rather than waiting for them to get around to inputting? It may be a lot of work, but just a thought.
Anthony, what do you think?
I mean, are you asking, Greg, that if we can, if they can share some of the, I guess, how they're hoping to present the data so that it's consistent? Is that what you're asking?
Well, there's a draft out, which I haven't got all the way through. And I'm wondering out of that draft whether it's possible to synthesize their plan in our format.
My suggestion,
I'm sure it would be to some degree at the very least. I mean, I think the format of the visualization of the different strategies across the continuum kind of format seems like it could be flexible enough to incorporate at least what they have in the draft. But Nick or Christine, I don't want to speak on your behalf.
If you don't mind, let me jump in, Anthony, for a second. My suggestion on this, this is their data. We want to ask their permission before we start inserting their data into our document. So my suggestion would be is wait until our current executive director becomes the city manager and then ask him, can we use this data in a plan? That would be, to me, the right protocol. I'd hate to use something without their permission before we circulate it.
I thought that's sort of what I was doing.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't hear that. Right.
I also think there's a more recent draft that
That's
is
my point.
reviewed by NDS. So I and I know there was some concerns with the last draft, which is why they've updated it. So just make sure that you have the right one.
And,
So
I'll add that just in terms of like process, it's not, I wouldn't see it being like a heavy lift to take, you know, what they have and then, you know, try and adapt it to our format. I will say that, you know, I've worked somewhat with the consultant team that's doing the update to the comprehensive plan and to the affordable housing strategy. And they have been really flexible with working with us with the Cherry Avenue plan. So I could see if, you know, if that was a direction that we wanted to go in, that there's at least some baseline relationships to build off of. So
it's great.
Well, I was thinking, you know, they're lacking a staff person, but maybe the consultant team, I'm sure it's not a task listed in their assignment, but it wouldn't hurt to share the format and see what they think. And, you know, we might luck into them taking a stab at it.
So staff, do you have enough direction from this conversation to move forward? Or do you need clarity?
I think we have enough to ask the right questions once we get off, you know, offline on next steps. Yes. Okay,
thank you. All righty, moving on to the next. Stacy and Lucinda, you're up. The speaker series, fall wrap up, and spring series.
Yeah, so if you all remember, we started offering a series of webinars, affordable housing related, and we started that last September. And throughout the fall and winter, we held 4 sessions. So looking at the impact of the pandemic on the Charlottesville area housing market, looking at regional housing strategies and policies, bringing in guest speakers from outside of the area. Kickstarting, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not kickstarting, but having a grand opening, so to speak, of the housing website. And then Anthony and Virginia Supportive Housing came and talked about converting existing structures into permanent supportive housing for homeless individuals. They were all really well attended and I think well received throughout the entire series. And so we are looking at offering these again, beginning in March. We have 4 topics that we are going to look at. The first, which we felt was really timely given all of the housing plans that are coming up, is a discussion about zoning hurdles and incentives for affordable housing. We're currently looking for presenters to come in and talk about that. So we have a couple feelers out. Having someone come in April and walk everyone through an affordable housing pro forma. There's a lot of misconception throughout the public, and I used to be guilty of this myself, that you know, developers are just really greedy, and so they don't build affordable housing because they want a huge profit. So this is, we're hoping, a way to begin to educate area residents and practitioners in what it takes to build affordable housing and why we cannot necessarily build housing for extremely low income households in the quantities that everyone would like to see. We're also looking at the relationship between transportation and housing. And then in June, we'll be wrapping up this series with a discussion about equity and housing. Siri Russell from the county's Office of Equity and Inclusion will be doing that, has agreed to do that session, and she will be bringing friends. That's what she told me. I don't know who those friends are going to be. But we also felt that this was a really timely topic to talk about. I believe that, let me back up, let me not lie. We will be sending out letters asking for potential sponsors. So we have 3 levels of sponsorships. The first one is $2,500. And that will be for someone who wants to sponsor or someone's that want to sponsor the entire series. That will give them the opportunity to speak at the first session to kick the series off. Make sure their name and logo are on all the marketing materials, and they'll be recognized as a sponsor in all the sessions. We have an exclusive session sponsored of $1,000. That is to sponsor one particular session, not the entire series. And then for $500, you can come on as a session co-sponsor. So I believe those letters are going out soon if they have not done so already. And that is as much as I know. So I will turn it over to Lucinda.
I think that covers everything.
Well, guys, as always, and I'll just keep on saying it, you guys, every one of the teams that work on every one of these projects are awesome. And thank you for all the work you're doing. And I love the series for 2021. Just some great topics you guys put together. And just for clarity, we're not going to do anything in person probably for 2021 unless something magically changes. So 2022, we'll start looking at potential in-person, get backtrack on that. But this has been a huge success. I know some of the folks that attend these that are not part of our group speak of the success of it constantly every time I have a chat with them. So it was really good stuff. Thank you. So the next and last item we have here is our roundtable. Since we're kind of shallow in our depth, we only have a few board members on there. I think our staff outnumber the board members, but Ned, we'll start off with you since you're on the top of the screen. Anything you would like to share?
Not a whole lot. I mean, we had a good, I think, I can't recall if we've met since we had our joint meeting with the Planning Commission on our housing policy, which was a pretty good meeting, I think. It's not often that we can get the Planning Commission together with us and dig in like that. I expect that coming out of that meeting and some of the statements that were made by supervisors and being reinforced by planning commissioners that this affordable housing and the top points that are coming out of that policy will be front and center during budget conversation, which we're about to get underway with here in the next month. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because budget time is, when you put your money where your mouth is, right? I mean, that's what we're gearing up for. So that's really all I have to report at this point. We just got underway with, our organization meeting. In Albemarle, Donna and I remain the chair and vice chair. So nothing's changed for us leadership-wise, and looking forward to the year.
Thanks, Ned. Lucinda, would you mind dropping the screen share so I can see everybody on the... Thank you. Thanks, Ned. Everything well? Everybody healthy and all that good stuff at the house, I hope?
Oh, yeah, everyone's good. Thank you.
Good. So let me see. Anthony, you're up next, brother.
Hey, everybody. So our focus is still in continuing our sheltering of folks. We have about 80 homeless folks with health conditions that put them at increased risk for COVID in hotels, and we're also just working on finalizing the sale at the Red Carpet Inn and preparing to be able to start emergency shelter operations there if everything goes as planned in April. So that timeline is moving faster than I can keep up with, to be honest with you. Yeah, working on a lot of those details just to make sure we're as prepared as possible, and trying to navigate, the funding that's available for that too. There was an executive order from the president about making FEMA or allowing FEMA to be 100% reimbursable for non-congregate shelter costs, which includes like hotel sheltering. So that's tremendous. It's still unclear what that means for us locally. But it's just a sign of like how important leadership can be in the ground level, right? I mean, I just don't see that necessarily have happened with a different administration. So it's just something interesting, and hopefully that you know, pans out well for us locally. Other than that, I have been just inundated today with vaccine preparation, which is great to be inundated with. So we're working on that for staff for the homeless shelters and clients as soon as tomorrow, apparently, and then through the next week and a half, vaccinating staff and clients and shelters, which is really tremendous. And just as, you know, a point to shout out the incredible work of people on the ground in our homeless system of care. You know, there have been a few staff that have gotten COVID, but there has been no outbreak among guests at any of our shelter programs or any of the hotel programs that we've had to date, which is incredible. And we've had some close calls, and we've had to ask, you know, 60 people plus to go into quarantine, not leave the room for 2 weeks. And, you know, that those measures were difficult, but they paid off, and it has not spread in any of our programs. And I'm just hoping that we can make it through these next couple weeks, you know, for the vaccine. So anyways, just a lot going on, obviously, but a lot to be grateful for and look forward to. So just trying to keep it rolling. Thanks.
Well, congratulations on the vaccine. That's great news to hear. Really good news to hear. Greg, you're up next, my friend.
I've been very pleased by working with Louisa County, who are gifting property to help make affordable happen. We're going to generate about 80 units, half of which will be affordable home ownership. I'd love to see other counties that just give some thought to whether there might be some acreage that that could be contributed to such exercises. I am looking for 5 to 10 acres in Albemarle County. We've got an out-of-town client that wants to build affordable seniors, just in case there's a realtor on the call. And we're looking at things that in Fluvanna and Green right now that would generate a couple of hundred affordable units as well. So we're not getting anything new started under construction, but it is great to be planning the next round of significant affordable housing in the region.
I'll reach out to you, Greg, offline. I think I might have an opportunity for you there. Let me see. If we got some time here, is everybody okay? We just chat with staff a little bit. Is everybody okay with that? So I'm going to start with Stacy. How you been, Stacy? Because you're like right there. You're right there.
I've been good, Keith. How are you?
You know, if I was doing any better, it'd be illegal. Anything to report from your world?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me questions.
No. This is just a roundtable. Tell what's going on and what's going on in your world at the county, at the ship that you helm over there.
Well, we're getting ready to start the public comment period for the draft housing policy. I'm working with the communications department to get that on the public input platform, very similar to what we did with the climate action plan. So it will be out there for everybody to read the full document, give a summary of the different sections, ask a few questions just to gauge how well we did on that. So hopefully that's going to be up and ready to start that period on Monday. That will run for 2 weeks so that I can get all the feedback together before the public hearing for the housing policy in front of the board on March 17th. Outside of that, working with Habitat on the Southwood project and trying to get that moving. Those are the two things that consume all of my time.
You're trying to help this little land trust do with something, right?
That is true. We're excited to know that you guys are working with Stanley Martin and in the Spring Hill development to get those affordable property units purchased and into the land trust portfolio, so they will be permanently affordable. That's really important. So thank you all for doing that.
Well, we could do without your guys' help, so thank you. All righty. We already heard a little bit from Chip and Christine. Nick, how about you? What's going on in your life?
I mean, the big update was the plan, you know, in terms of other, you know, things that kind of touch on affordable housing. We did present the draft Cherry Avenue small area plan to the Charlottesville Planning Commission 2 weeks ago. And so there's some specific recommendations pertaining to housing. And, you know, I think serves as a really nice model for community-driven, proactive approaches to planning their community. So we've got a couple of little things to tweak before it goes to the city council in March. But, you know, that's culmination of 2-3+ years of work. So we're excited to get that one off the books and let the community start taking charge of some of those recommendations. So.
Is that on your website? What's the best way to see the?
It is, yes. I can put the link, Greg, in the chat box for you.
So what's our next area we're going to look at for the city? Has that been decided yet? Nope. Nobody's in there. That would be no. All right. Well, Nick, thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the update on the Cherry Avenue. That's important for everybody on this call. So Lucinda, what's going on in your life other than you have to deal with me?
Well, I'm excited to get to know everybody and work on some housing issues. I've been working on the speaker series and trying to get speakers for that. I've been making some phone calls and doing some research. I'm also looking at maybe some grants to get sponsorship for that, for the speaker series as well. And I have the MPO policy board meeting coming up next. So I also work on transportation projects, and we just had a really some really great news about Smart Scale. Our area got a lot of funding. Almost all of our projects were funded for that. So we're all really excited to hear that news and start working on those projects.
Thank you. Christine, anything new to add that you have already added? No, wait, what's all chickle? You're on mute, Christine.
No, housing related, this entire meeting would be my update. This is what we've been working on. So other than the organizational changes with Chip leaving and shifting around some responsibilities and learning new things, and you know, well, we have a lot of opportunity and a lot to look forward to, but with Chip leaving, there's gonna be a big hole that we have to figure out how to fill.
So I can say this with some authority. You're the right person for the job, so thank you.
Couldn't agree more.
Gretchen, we don't chat with you very often. How's things going on in your world?
I just got back from Key West, so
okay, you're done. Put yourself on mute. Put yourself on mute. We're done with you. We're done with you.
So.
Good. Well, thank you for what you do, Gretchen. We couldn't do what we do without you diligently taking notes and keeping us all straight. So Chip, I'm leaving you for last, brother. Any words of wisdom that you would like to share with us before you depart up the street?
You're in absolutely wonderful hands. I think you all know that already. It will be nice that you all will be able to get something accomplished without me bumbling around, slowing the process down. I am excited knowing that housing is such a priority at the city. It's nice in their housing plan work, knowing that it's considered a regional issue and regional solutions. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward that I'll be able to continue to work with this group as well as many of the groups at the Planning District Commission, because so many of our issues are regional in nature, and it's exciting times, lots of opportunities all around.
Chip, well, I'd like to give you a personal thanks.
No.
Oh, yeah.
You have been great in this role. And good luck in your new role. And thank you for stepping up for the city.
No, thank you. It's I'm glad it's working out. Now I just have I have a lot to do. Thank you very much, Greg.
Well, and I'd like to assume that you're going to kind of maintain an open door policy, right?
For some people.
I'll leave it at that. He blocks my phone. I'm just saying. Who does that? So a little bit on my end of it, I'm going to have to gush a little bit. I became a grandpa again yesterday for the second time, and little Miss Vienna Yvonne Smith Tyson was born yesterday at 12:08, 7.8 pounds. And we've already begun spoiling her remotely. Well, actually, not remotely. Yona is up in Connecticut. So a little side note, most of those everybody on this call knows me well, that when I say my wife's my better 7/8, she is my better 7/8. I actually mean what I say. And it's only by the grace of God, and I guess I got to get something. I only get 1/8 of it. But I have to say, normally when she leaves, and Christine has experienced this all too well, when Yona leaves, I tend to lose it. And so far, I'm holding my calm. So I'm actually pretty excited. I haven't sobered up yet, but that's a whole different issue. But
the day is early, Keith. The day is early.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, I just want to say thank you. This is a great thing. This is one of a few of my volaholic things I belong to. This is my pride and joy. And I absolutely love being part of this and part of this team and some of the great work we're doing. So in saying that, I'm going to try to get us out here 15 minutes early unless somebody else has anything else to add. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Be well. We'll see you in about a month. Thanks.
Good afternoon.